Hello, and welcome to our latest episode of Relatable Catholic.
Hello to all our listeners.
I'm back.
That's right. Jacob's back. Mr. Till is here filling in. Angie's still in school.
And we're not.
Meanwhile, Jacob and I are on summer break.
So welcome back.
Thank you.
It's been a while.
You feel free? Summer break, is that how? What's the feeling like? Because I mean, I kind of have it, but I don't,
You don't,
actually.
yeah.
This might be the closest thing to heaven outside of the mass.
You love your job, but
I do.
Yeah, but there's so much stress and there's always something on your mind.
I just think it's good for the students and teachers to just get a break. It's like a nice reset. Even more excited to come back next year.
Yeah. I always tell the kids they're always fighting at the end of the school year, and I'm like, well, this is nature's way. We all need a break from each other, and then we'll come back and we'll miss each other. But yeah, it feels good.
I've been talking to Mr. Kaiser about going year-round school.
Take it back.
That's not true. I just want to see your face.
I knew it wasn't true. Nobody'd be on board with that.
To write to the Archbishop.
I think 4-day school weeks, man. That's what I'm pushing for.
Could be open to it.
I'd be open to it.
no say.
Yeah. Well, you had quite a well-attended mass this morning now that school was out.
Yeah, that was amazing. Did you guys get a count? I would have said 50 people for a daily mass.
I didn't get a count.
I didn't think about counting.
I thought about it in the Our Father, and I started counting in the Our Father. I was like, I'm not really praying this right now, so I'm going to go back to just praying it. And that was what I did.
Yeah.
So, but I would say it was a solid 50 people at a daily mass, which,
Yeah.
I mean, I used to have that nativity. I'd have probably 75, 80, at 6:30 in the morning, which is the whole city. This is a little different.
Yeah.
The population of Bellevue is a little different.
Little smaller. So yeah, so it's pretty cool to see that, and I'm like, yeah, very, very encouraging to me.
And Jacob did the reading.
Yeah.
A lot of hard words today.
There were some hard words, but
and I had already read it, and I said to myself, I am not leaving this pew.
It was interesting. You said one of the words, you said it different than what I was going to say it, but I wanted to preach about it. So literally when I got to that same word,
was it that name?
Sosthenes or something?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said it the same way you said it.
Wow.
So that's how I roll. I'm not gonna go up and
Galileo.
Yeah, I said Galileo, and I think you said Galileo in the
No,
homily.
no, we didn't.
There was
not
something
say
that was
Gal.
different. But
I think the Thessa, whatever that one was different.
I try to match the reader because I think that is difficult.
Yeah.
I went in
for people.
blind, and I
Yes,
was just
you
really
hadn't
trying
even
to
read
read
it.
it, and
You did great.
I was already
Yeah.
running a little late for mass.
Yeah,
I
I
was
was.
telling you, 8 o'clock is hard. It's summer.
Oh, I thought it was perfect.
But
But you had the whole day after that. Wasn't that nice? You're already up
so
and
nice. Up, ran errands.
to
Now
mass.
I'm here.
Yeah.
It's beautiful outside. The birds are chirping.
oof, boy, do I have a bird update.
Oh, tell us about your bird.
I have my neighbor has a beautiful tree in his yard, and it spills over into my patio area. And unfortunately, a red-winged blackbird has nested in that tree. So now I can just not go out onto the patio anymore.
I brought my tennis racket. We'll take care of it after we record.
Okay.
I'm joking. I didn't.
Well, I will need help. I saw that my neighbors it's like they started to mow their lawn and they have one circle around that tree and that's it.
Oh,
so I bet
they're
they got
experiencing it too.
attacked. Yeah. And this morning when I was leaving for mass, when I got outside, I had to get something from my car, and those birds were attacking another bird, and there were feathers in the air and everything.
That's exciting.
No, it's not exciting. I snuck outside today because I wanted to deadhead those plants that I have out there, and all I could hear was and then my heart started to race, and I was like, I can't do it. So I came back inside.
These birds.
So bird drama.
It's
Bird drama. There's always bird drama. I'm telling you, except for the holy bird.
The holy bird. Oh, I thought that was funny.
Yeah,
It was funny.
it was funny.
Thanks.
You're
Once in a
welcome.
while.
I was nervous for a little bit. You weren't actually going to do it.
Yeah?
I was. I said, I told him he has to do this.
Or you'd quit. That was what really happened. You said I had to squeeze
But you did it.
Yeah, I had to bring out the rubber chicken and squeeze it. And
Yeah. And you did.
it was really Jacob's.
You know who loves a
Encouragement.
good rubber chicken that makes an annoying sound?
Who's
Mr.
that?
Kiefer.
Carl.
Carl?
Yeah, he has one at Tim and Jen's house, at my brother and sister-in-law's house. And they like hide it, and every time that's the first thing he finds when he gets there.
It's the
Wow.
rubber
It is
chicken.
so annoying. It's
That's-
very annoying.
Pretty funny.
Yeah. So Carl's a big fan as well. So this week, we are going to be talking about when a loved one chooses to leave the faith, or maybe even you've decided to leave the faith. I wanted to preface this as like, we're not coming at this in like a judgmental way at all. This is just, like, we know everybody's on their faith journey, and just kind of like coming at it as like, what are some things you can do if you're struggling with it with a loved one, or maybe you yourself are struggling with it. So that's what we're going to be talking about.
This is a question from a
Yeah.
listener.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, this was a question from a listener about.
Not my question, but
Yeah, Mr. Till.
Can we answer Mr. Till's question first?
Yeah, so I put the question box. I don't understand Instagram at all, so I'm just trying different things, and the question box thing. And Mr. Till, Jacob asked a question. Go ahead, Jacob, ask the question.
why doesn't Katie eat chicken off the bone?
I don't have an answer. I just don't like it. It freaks me out.
It's because it's a bird.
Yes.
Wow.
Maybe that's
There's
it. It's
a
full
phobia.
circle.
It's a phobia.
Full circle.
And this is why Lauren thinks we should do a hot takes episode.
That would be fun.
Anyway, back to the more important topic.
Yes. Yeah, we had a listener reach out asking about what to do when a loved one has left the faith, but you're still there, and kind of how to navigate that. Yeah, so that is what it's a big topic though, so I don't know if we'll get through
It's a big topic.
all of it, but
Difficult.
we'll get started.
Absolutely.
I guess the biggest question is probably like, do you approach that loved one? Do you leave it alone? Do you, like, I guess, what do you do when that happens?
There's a number of different takes, like a number of different ways. I will just say that when I grew up Catholic, right? Went to religious ed, public school kid, went to religious ed, and I did leave the faith for, a good 3-4 years in college after. And in my mind, I didn't leave it completely, and it was weird. I would still go to mass when I was at home with my family, receive communion. But then I would go receive at a Lutheran church, and sometimes we'd go to a non-denominational church, E-Free. We were church shopping. Me and my fiance, my ex-girlfriend, my fiance. Then later, we were church shopping, trying to find something that she felt unwelcome at a Catholic church, and she didn't grow up in a church at all. So I kind of left for a little while, and it wasn't like it wasn't something where a lot of people came at me like, hey, you got to come back, or like, I don't feel like I was ever like really questioned, that people were family members or whoever. But what my dad did was he always invited me back. He always invited me to mass or to things, and he didn't push me. He wasn't like, oh, you're going to hell. It was just like this constant kind of invitation, and that's kind of what my sense. I think that's probably one of the first things is really like just praying for them. I think that was what my parents were really doing, was just praying for me a lot. And I didn't even know it. I just was going through life, living life, and not really even aware of what I was leaving what I had done necessarily. You know, I wasn't thinking that much in depth about it. I assume I was trying to make my girlfriend happy at that point in my life. So
Yeah. And I've had this, you know, in families, big families, that happens too. And one of my aunts prayed to Saint Monica a lot, patron saint of hopeless causes.
Mother of Augustine, who was far away from God for a while, and
Yeah, he loved grapes. Did I tell that story?
loved grapes.
There's a Littlest Saints. I think I might have already told this on the podcast, but it's a series on Formed, and it's little kids performing. And the way they showed St. Augustine's, we decided it was addiction to alcohol, was he kept going back for the grapes.
Oh, okay.
And because in it said, like, but there was one sin that he just couldn't stop. And then it showed a bowl of grapes, and the kids were like, he's addicted to grapes.
That's hilarious.
But one of them was like, no, the grapes are wine.
Oh, one of them got it.
Yeah, one of
They
them
got
figured it out. But yeah, so I think that St. Augustine and St. Monica are really good saints to pray for intercession for situations like this too. I have a question too, because so a lot of times family members do leave the faith, and then like what about when they die and they haven't come back yet? Because that's what worries me about some family members who have passed away.
You know, we leave it ultimately up to God, right? Like, God is the judge. We're not the judge. You know, when it says don't judge in the Bible, that's what it's talking about. Is we don't judge their salvation. We don't know where they're at. Again, we just pray for them. We just leave it up to the mercy of God. In my mind, there's a huge difference between what if we know what the church teaches and really know it and really live it, and then decide to leave, versus like we're growing up and out of our, you know, sometimes ignorance or maybe how we've been hurt by someone in the church, or by someone in the school, or, you know, out of a number of different wounds, we choose to leave. Well, God knows our heart that way. You know, we just can't know what people are really struggling with in that sense. You know? So I would just, like, you know, if it was someone close to you and they left the church and they died, well, does the family still want to do a Catholic funeral? If they want to, like, we're doing it. You know, it's not like they're Catholic. They're still Catholic, even though they might not have been practicing, or they might have actively even left for a different denomination.
Because right when you're baptized,
You're
child of God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I read that or listened to something similar about, like, when you're baptized, like you're baptized, you know, like you'll always be a child of God then.
Yeah.
And welcomed into heaven eventually, hopefully.
Hopefully. I mean, people do have the choice to, they choose to separate themselves from God, right? It's free will, you know? So what they did after they left is on them, and we don't judge it, but we treat them like we would treat anyone. You know, that we would celebrate a funeral mass for them in the church, and then we would continue to have masses celebrated for them, for their soul. You know, that's those.
And I think this comes
intentions.
back to what you guys talked about in an earlier episode too, of like the umbrella. It's like just because you stepped like out of the umbrella, or like, you know, we might have stepped away from God, but he's still staying in the same place, like waiting for us to come back to him. And I just think too, if we have people in our families or that we're close to that have left the faith, like, pray for them. Like, the conversion of somebody's hearts could happen at any point until they pass away. And just like trusting that, like, God's mercy is also great, and that we have a merciful God, and we believe, like, in his salvation, like he's already redeemed us and died for us on the cross, like we can't be afraid of death either.
He's won the victory, so we can't be afraid of it, and what will happen there?
I just think too, sometimes when, like, going back to Father's point, sorry, off the death topic, but like it really does, I think, just like come down to that personal invitation, and sometimes that has to happen over and over and over again. I know, like, for me, like, I went to mass not because I like wanted to, just because you kind of feel like you have to. And then it was that invitation of like somebody like, do you want to play the piano? And then it was like, well, I have to go because I said yes. And then like this, right, like desired, like, oh, I love the liturgy, just kept helping me like draw deeper and deeper into like this truth and like what God offers us and like who God is. And I think like that eventually led me to like a personal relationship with Jesus, which took a lot of time. And I think we live in a world where we can get things instantly. Like you can order something on Amazon and have it in 2 days or a day, or, but like
A day, ideally.
sometime ideally, yes, especially when you're like trying to like get something for somebody and it's like, oh, I waited a little too long. But
3 days. Nope. I gotta fix
that's not
something
gonna work
else.
anymore. But I think like we can't be like, I need God to reveal himself to me and I'm gonna order that on Amazon. Like that is just something that is going to take like so much time to happen, and it's going to be on his time and not our time. And I think sometimes that's really difficult for people to grasp in a world where we can kind of get anything however we want it, whenever we want it.
That is such a good point. Like because love does not happen overnight, right? Like you talk about love at first sight, but that's not realistic. That's not like actually how it goes. Like a loving relationship develops over time, you know? And so I think of my own story, you know, I left the church. I left the Catholic Church, just practicing other denominations and just being a Christian. I thought, you know, that's good enough. And it was in that when I was listening to Christian music, and it was in that I actually experienced God's love in my life when I felt like I'd gone too far, but like the only thing that could give me peace or hope or joy was listening to Christian music. Like that was what I felt in my heart. That was part of that relationship where I knew that God loved me. That's the foundation of everything, right? And that relationship piece of it has to be first. And I think a lot of people come through the Catholic system and they don't, it never hits their heart. It never travels from the head to the heart.
And I think we go seek other options where it's like, I can have an experience like maybe this worship service at a different church was more a production and I felt something on the inside where, you know, I think it takes time. Like it took time for me to truly appreciate like the Mass. It's like, this is something I come back and go to, not because it's boring, but because like this is actually the one true thing that's consistent in my life. And I think there's a lot of times where it takes us time to get to that point, and like there's just that sometimes I think is like a way that we can see family members walk away. It's like, I didn't have a personal, like I didn't have this encounter that you had with Jesus, so it's like something must not be right for me, so I'm going to go try something else. And sometimes like it's hard to get them back after that, and or they, you know, see you as like the Jesus freak is like a thing people used to say. I feel like I haven't heard that as much lately, but I think like how do we then like I've had these experiences, how do I share them to like help invite people back? And I think one of the most profound ways we can do that is just like in how we live our lives. You know, I think for me growing up, especially like in college, having whether it was a professor or just like somebody that I encountered or on a mission trip, it's like there is something about like the joy this person has or like the way this person just lives out their life that's just like, you're awesome. And like, how do I get that? And like usually those are the people that are like super rooted in their identity as a beloved son or daughter of God. And so it's like you want that for yourself as well. So it's like, how do we like live that out to our family members, where it may also be difficult or like a temptation to like fall in old habits of like, I'm gonna kind of mold to this group, but like how is Jesus calling us to live out our lives?
Like a spiritual attraction, something, you know, something in their lives. And, you know, I think a lot of times when people see someone that should be suffering in a really great way, but they're really faithful and they're not, it doesn't seem to affect them in the way that the world would expect them to suffer, and that they have a real peace and calm about it, too. Like, so there's the joy aspect too, and then there's that kind of peace and calm aspect too in the midst of what we go through and different things. So that's another way to live it spiritually, like to be kind of spiritually attractive, if that's what,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The ability to surrender things and be at peace.
Right. Yeah.
That's attractive to people as well.
I found an article that had like the 6 rules that could really help it's Catholic answers. You put in a question and it pops out an answer. It's
Catholic.com.
pretty fun.
Pretty easy, yeah.
Yeah. But so there's 6 of them. The first one is like, if you are going to approach it, like don't approach it in like an argumentative way. Like that's just like in anything, like you're going to just turn people off more than anything.
Probably not going to end well.
Yeah, if you're starting in an argumentative way.
Yeah, and to let them like approach it more than
Right.
like we, like I don't want to like go and say, oh, so you're going to the E-free church now,
Right.
like
What is
what's
E-free?
that about?
I'm also confused.
Evangelical free.
What does that mean?
It's like an evangelical type church, but free from like a liturgy, free from like a set doctrine. So it's kind of
So
it's
just
pretty
like
similar to
people, like,
non-denominational.
preaching.
Yeah, but with a lot of good music too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Gives
was
you
one
the
of the
warm and fuzzies on the inside.
Well, I mean, it does
Temporarily.
actually.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
Like I love that music. I listen to it all the time.
Right.
But there's just a difference between Catholic Mass and
It's a supplement. In education, we would call that a supplement to the core curriculum.
and I think it's great. Like I still love it.
Yeah.
I think it's a great supplement. But
Yeah.
it's not always everything. But it's just like it's like not going into it like trying to argue or trying to even say anything. Like
Yeah.
like being able just to receive the different questions that might come
Right.
up.
And I like don't bring it up unless they bring it up.
I mean,
Unless it's like, hey, I'm going to mass. And come on.
yeah.
But
And
that's an invitation.
That's an invitation.
yeah, I think to invite is
Yeah.
that good. So don't argue.
Don't
Number
argue.
one.
The second one was love them more than ever. I think the lady in this article, she had said like somebody was coming to approach her about her Catholic faith, and she said she just gave her a hug and said, I love you, and I really do appreciate that you are worried about my eternal life. Which kind of reminds me of the protesters last week. Like, we love you. Thank you for worrying about our eternal life. Like, you mean well. Yeah, just being respectful and like honoring their decision, I guess.
Yeah, just kind of honoring, meeting them where they're at. Right. It's not like it's like they've made this decision that doesn't like necessarily affect your eternal salvation.
Right.
And it's, who knows if it's a forever thing or just a right now thing.
Yeah.
I mean, some level, thanks be to God, they're still going to church if that's what they're doing.
Right.
And I think sometimes it's like there's that good practice of stepping back and remember, like, where was I once at?
Right.
Because I also have been in their
true.
shoes. It's just
Yeah. I've been reading this.
I don't want to be like, I don't want to judge somebody where they're at, because it's like, also like, what's going to, like, where are we going to be at in 5 years as well? Like, there could be someone or something that hurts us that, like, hopefully it's not God's will. Like, I choose to like step away, but like, there's also that sense of like freedom to like our human will.
Yeah.
Like, why can't I think of like the word I'm thinking of?
I don't know what
We
word
don't
to think of.
know. We don't know.
But I will say this,
Free will. That's what I'm thinking.
free will.
I was like,
This
you're
will
I said
that's
human
free.
will. But you know what I mean? Like, it's like, hopefully someday, like, there isn't something where I, like, use my free will to be like, I'm leaving the church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I think just, like, to love them and also remember where we once were. Like,
Yeah.
at one time I was not as into my faith as I am today either.
Yeah. And yeah, as you love them more than ever, hopefully they experience that love that makes them open to talking about it, right? And then it's being able to speak to whatever, and what came up in my mind was when, if it was someone that hurt you, don't leave Peter because of Judas, right? Like there's bad apples within the church,
Yeah,
right?
right.
There's people that are going to do hurtful things because we're sinful. We are still here on earth. And so don't leave because of that, is one thing. And that'd be one. You just kind of have to know how to answer these kind of the objections when they start to.
That's number 4.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry,
we
I'm
skipped
jumping
number
ahead. I'm
3.
sorry.
It's okay. 3 is pretty simple. Pray and make sacrifices.
And that's what I would have said was number 1, was pray for them.
Well, I
but
don't think they're in order of importance. I mean, maybe they are. But
Yeah, no, I
pray, make sacrifices, pray for them. So then that goes to number 4, study the Catholic faith. And the article was like, it's the classic tale. The kid comes home from college and it's like, I'm not going to be Catholic anymore. Or, I'm going to step away from the faith. And then they're like, well, why do you believe in the faith? And it's like, why do I believe in the faith? Like, I just do.
Yeah.
So actually, like, studying the faith, which, like, goes back to the Bible and the catechism, and really, like, figuring out why we believe what we believe and what we believe, which is, especially if you're born into the faith, like, you really are kind of at not a disadvantage, but you're just kind of like expected, like, this is what we do because this is what we do.
Because it's what I've always done.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So really diving into the why so you can defend your faith.
Yeah. Like that super intentional study, super intentional figuring out why it is we're doing, not just because I grew up in a Catholic bubble until I got until I got out of that Catholic bubble into Protestant college where I was challenged, like just very, very bluntly challenged. It was, I didn't have any reason to question. It was just my until my bubble got, burst.
Wow. And
nice?
Your parents didn't argue with you.
Right.
Your parents probably prayed for you and made sacrifices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is what
Definitely.
they were doing.
It's like they're following these rules.
Yeah. They
Before it was cool.
did they write this article?
I was noticing Steve Ray wrote this article. Steve Rowe is a Catholic author, but he was a Protestant.
Okay.
He's written a couple books. Crossing the Tiber is one of them. Of his conversion story of becoming Catholic, and then he's also got one on Upon This Rock, which is about the Pope, about why we have a Pope and why that's important. And so he's a great author, a great one to study because he lived in that Protestant world and came.
It's like there's more of a conviction.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think like you can just like really like sense that. So then you're drawn to that. And I think sometimes we get pretty comfortable where it's like maybe that conviction isn't there as strong for some of us who have just been Catholic
our whole lives. Yeah.
Because I think there's, it's kind of that turning point. It's like, well, you've just always been Catholic. It's like, but now I'm like choosing it. And when it's that choice, because I'm choosing this because I believe it's the truth. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to follow this because it's true and because it's life-giving, not because it's restrictive. Mm-hmm. Then you're convicted and like, this is the thing to do.
Right.
This is what I believe.
Yeah. And I feel like recently I've been just watching a lot of Protestant converts. Have you been noticing that? Like there's been a lot or no? Maybe that's just like,
it seems
because
like
I think
it.
like
It's called
growing
the Eucharistic
up.
revival.
Yeah, truly.
It's called Carlo
Yeah.
Acutis.
Okay, yes. Oh,
Sorry.
but like growing up, it always seemed like, and I think we should do a whole episode on this. Like, it was almost like embarrassing to be Catholic. Like, it'd be like when you talk about religion, like oh, Catholics, you know. And now I watched something. It was like, say it with your chest, like I'm Catholic, and I feel like these. Growing up, it was a lot of people leaving the Catholic faith, and I really feel like, thanks be to God, that we're like the Catholic faith is growing and reviving. One might say. Yeah, which I think is great, obviously, but also it's like inspirational. It's the year of hope, so
It's the year of hope.
yeah, it's the Jubilee year, baby.
That's right. That's right. And there's a couple of organizations out there that are really focused on that. The Coming Home Network, St. Paul Biblical Center has part of their ministry is specifically to Protestant pastors who are coming into the Catholic Church. It's very interesting. And yeah, there's lots of lots
especially when like like everything I've heard, it's Protestant pastors, like
yeah.
and that's what's so beautiful about it is that like the pastors they're supposed to be the ones teaching it all, and then when they finally like are actually like looking into like what they're preaching about, it's like, oh, maybe the Catholics are right.
Well, I mean, it's when you're really reading scripture and you're putting the whole of it together, you know, Jesus asks for unity. God wants unity. And there was unity for so long, like, 1,500 years, until the Protestant, Reformation, right? So there really was that unity for so long. And then there's certain things that are becoming more clear. For instance, one of the reasons that Protestants and Catholics have different Bibles is because Martin Luther and Zwingli got they took 7 books out of the Old Testament, and one of the reasons they did that was because there wasn't Hebrew copies, but they found Hebrew copies in the Dead Sea Scrolls. So in Qumran, back like 60 years ago, they found 60, 70, I don't know how many years, but they found these Hebrew copies. So one of the reasons that they took away these scriptures is not actually there anymore, and the entire scripture is important for our doctrine. I think they're kind of starting to see this. They're just different things, That's one thing. I think you were alluding to the other one, Eucharist, right? I think that was a big one for me coming back. Learning about that was just like
Eucharistic miracles.
Reading John 6, reading church fathers. Like I think they're more and more starting to read those church fathers before Augustine. Like most Protestants accept Augustine, but go back to Ignatius of Antioch and you're like, whoa,
And I feel like and maybe this is just because I'm older, but I feel like even people in the Catholic sphere are even talking about the church fathers more.
Which is awesome. I mean, it's amazing to read Justin Martyr and read through like how he describes the Mass and go, we are doing the same thing still, 1900
all these years later.
Yeah. So the more you read and learn, it's like, I don't know where else I could be. I don't know where else I could be Christian. That's where I got in my life. It's like if I'm going to be Christian, like it just seems like it has to be Catholic. It just doesn't seem like there's really that option. But of course, not everybody is
right.
there. But that's why we keep hoping and praying and encouraging them to actually dig into their faith too. Like what is it like? Who was the founder of your faith? If it's Methodist, like what was this Wesley guy about? What was Martin Luther about? And even though study Martin Luther, you find out, oh, he really loved Mary. The other day when we were at this Eucharistic, pilgrimage, and he's like railing on Mary,
Yeah.
Like if he'd go back to the roots of his own Protestant denomination, he'd realize that Mary was right there, you know? So but it's that continuing kind of inviting, asking, being able to give a little bit of an answer and
Yeah.
saying, when you don't know the answer, you say, I'll find out, and being honest that way too. Right.
Yeah.
Like, cause we can't know everything. We can't know every objection either.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot to put on ourselves. We'll get there over time, but if we don't know, don't make something up,
Well,
Yeah. And I think there's something beautiful too for like even like your family members or friends that have fallen away from the church to also see that like you're continuing to grow as well. Like it's not just like you reach this place and like that's where you are and you stay there. Like there's always this desire for a greater devotion or, just deeper faith and understanding, and that it just never stops. Like it's always growing, it's always expanding, and there's always like new people entering like your life, and that's also just like another chance to continue to grow like in your faith life.
which is actually the number 6 on here.
oh gosh, we're going out of order. Let's number 5. Jacob already said,
Yeah.
show the Lord's joy in your life. You already said that, so
Yeah.
easy. 6.
I feel like if you weren't
Go.
joyful, it's like, why would you do that?
Yeah, they're all
Seriously.
miserable.
Like it's not Lent all year long, people. We're an
There's
Easter people.
We are an Easter people.
But yeah, 6 is ask God to send other people into that loved one's life to influence them back to the faith. Because the fact of the matter is, it is probably the hardest thing to talk to family about. It is way easier for the priest or some coworker, some faithful coworker. Or this is easier in different settings. Not when sometimes you can be too close to a person, So I do like that kind of advice is just to pray that God would send somebody and
Yeah.
and reach them, because sometimes we're not able to.
Right.
And that's okay. Like that's not license to just not try, but we might not be the right ones to be able to reach our family members.
Yeah.
We can accept that. Should be able, hopefully accept that.
Yeah. Father Cruzy, back in the day, few priests ago, he actually had, I don't remember why we did it, but one mass he put, maybe it was like a whole month, he put a jar right at the altar in with notepad and pens, and people could write down names of someone who had left the faith, and then we prayed for them for like a whole month.
I think it might have been Lent.
Maybe it was Lent. Yeah, maybe it was like a come home thing. But there was one child who wrote her dad's name down, and I remember like she was crying when she wrote her dad's name down. But didn't it sound like something was over there?
Probably a red-winged blackbird.
Probably.
I think it was Renee in the window.
It was not Renee. She's working right now.
Okay, all right.
And thanks be to God, like he's back. So with that, all of the people who are praying for those people. So even, you say that you've been talking about that too, that what's the line? Like, may my sacrifice and yours be acceptable to God. Really like laying that, if that is what's really on your heart, like taking that to the Mass is the sacrifice of the Mass.
Yeah, I for sure next year, this is a preview for any students, Marquette students especially, that are listening, we're going to have the vocab word oblation. What is it? What does the word oblation mean? Because we say that all the time, and it's just, it's like, does anybody know? I barely even know, but that spiritual sacrifice and the importance of that, especially at the altar, especially there in Mass, is important. And I don't know how we're going to highlight it, but I want to work with y'all to figure out how we're going to highlight it and help people understand and really ramp up these prayers, because not just for this, but for the whole world, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things we need to pray for, and we can be praying for. I feel like we're kind of wasting it. I feel like we're wasting these masses sometimes. We're just not praying with enough intention behind our masses that
Right.
we could be. So
Yeah.
we'll get there. We got all summer to figure that out, right?
Yeah.
You guys want to help me do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I
I do want to help, but I am like,
Campus
it's
minister,
summer,
Jacob.
come
All
on.
right.
And I'm
It's
more like,
summer.
it's summer. We have so many things we need to get done this summer. Because everything I push off, like, well, summer's coming. I
Summer's
can do
coming.
that this summer. Oh, here we are, like
Already 2 days in.
in already.
What have
Got
I gotten
nothing
done?
to show for it.
Summer's almost gone. 2 days.
But yeah, so I feel like that was a pretty good start. I think maybe next time, because we did have some questions about like the mass and like people like thinking like, is it okay if they're attending mass or if they decide they don't want to attend mass? And I think that's like a whole different episode, is the importance of the mass. And
Sounds good.
the
Oblation.
Oblation. Yeah. So I think that wraps up this. I think it's a continued conversation, though.
It's a huge conversation.
Yeah.
But a very good conversation that we need to have. I know that when we did the survey, the DMI survey, people did not feel comfortable explaining their faith. You know, they felt that was one of our weak areas, is that people didn't they didn't feel comfortable being questioned about things. And so I think that's a big part of what we're talking about here too. Is how to do that. And many people that leave, they didn't know it as good as probably necessary. But that's okay. We're all growing. We're all in different places, and so there's no judgment here. There's all love and a desire of, I've found this pearl of great joy, of great price that I want to share, you know, and I want you to have that experience too. It's not, I think that's a good place to be, more so out of fear, you know, or fear of their souls. Yeah, we can have that maybe, but like more like, I have this great find, this great treasure in my life that I want everyone to know about, you know, and that's why I became a priest.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And like God chose to reveal himself to each of us like in his own like unique way.
Yeah.
But like yet the same God, but like he knew like how to reach each one of us because he created us.
Yes. It is a personal relationship, and that means it's different for every single person, right? Like it's going to be how we come to that deeper faith is going to be.
And I think sometimes too, like, how do we draw people back? And like, maybe we need to take time this summer, since it's the summer and we have more time to think, but like each of us around this table and those listening, like taking that time to like think back to like, how did I get to this place? Like, how did God reveal himself to me? Like, how do I know that God created me to like do his divine will?
Yeah.
Loves me. And
It's a good future episode.
And then like,
how did God
if
know?
I'm truly living that out, like how God intended me to live that out, like maybe these conversations will be easier. Maybe it will inspire one person to come back to the faith.
Yeah.
Because one super devout person to live out God's will is going to bring so many more people to the church than 100 people who just show up and aren't open to God's will for their lives.
yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we can't go through the motions anymore. We can't. We have to be strong in this. I think the culture is too hard on us, and the temptations are too much around us, and we just have to be strong in our own faith, and that's where we start.
And I'd almost give that like challenge, like, think about like, how did God reveal himself to you? And like, maybe we help people see in themselves, like how God's revealing himself to them, and accompany people along the way. And maybe that's what brings them back.
You got it.
Love it.
Love it. Love it. Live it. T-shirt.
Live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh, love. That was like so 2005.
Well, I feel like we were just scratching the surface there, but I think this is a really good conversation. I really enjoyed it. And I hope people enjoy it and take something, whatever God was putting on their heart, take it, use it.
Yeah, I hope our listeners
Forget
are
it.
edified.
And pray with it.
Maybe you can ask a question of like, what things do we go into deeper to like help? Like, what
Yeah.
are maybe some practicals next time? Or,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, maybe not as exciting as the chicken on the bone, but it's fine.
Great question,
Yeah.
listener, whoever that was. That was great.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right.
You know what's an even better question?
What?
What you were going to say.
Can you relate? Was that the question you're thinking of?
Yes.
Awesome.
I thought I was giving you a perfect lead, and I guess it wasn't
So
that
did
clear. Like, come on.
Do it. Do the thing. Well, I'll start.
Okay.
I think I'm getting used to living in a small town.
Oh, no.
I was
born in a small town.
I was up in Dubuque, and I stopped at two places. One like right downtown, and one kind of out more at a restaurant, but still, I did not lock my car at either place. That is very, very unlike me.
That's
I just
small
usually I
town.
just always
Yeah.
lock my car.
I
But things-
usually keep my car on.
I
Honestly, if I'm just going to the grocery store, like, I'm
thought you were going to say, like,
That's the
just
next
hopping
step, huh?
in
it
on-
took me like 15, 20 minutes to get there. It's like,
Yeah.
I know, traffic stinks.
Yeah. No, I leave my car on.
Can't even blame the
Wow.
trains.
Wow. Okay, I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially in the summer, it's going to be hot when you get back in. You might as well. My dad will honestly keep his car running for an entire day in the winter. He will not shut it off.
Wow.
I mean, he's probably like in and out of his truck all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. But also sometimes it's like 3 hours later and his truck is still on somewhere. So that's funny. Did anything get stolen?
No, not that I know of.
Did you leave the keys in it?
No, I did not.
That's different.
No. Yeah.
But still, I was just like, I got back to my car both times. Like, what was I doing? I didn't even lock it. Getting used to the small town.
Yeah.
So
There are still thieves in small towns, though. So just know, like, you're not 100%.
yeah, it's true. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks for reminding me. Yeah.
My car's in a garage, so I don't know. But you
Katie's
should be good
purposely
at the
gonna
grocery
find when your
store.
car's unlocked and like take little things and see if you notice.
Don't put it past me.
It's funny.
Okay. So I've got this bathroom situation, like only the downstairs bathroom. So when I eventually run out of towels, I have to start using Carl's towels. My dog. And then when Carl's towels are gone, then I know it's time to do a load of towels.
It's time to do the laundry.
Yeah.
It's like when you run out of, okay, this might sound weird, but it's like when you run out of the good underwear. Like when you run out of the A team and before you get to the B team, it's like, okay, that's really my sign to do the laundry. Can you relate to having an A team and a B team of underwear? That's a too
comment.
personal question for a
No
priest.
comment. But I'm kind of curious. Like, how often do you switch your towels?
See, every night because the shower's downstairs.
Because of Carl.
Oh, okay. So you have the travel situation.
Yes, I have to go on my own pilgrimage. Yes. So then I start using Carl's.
Today, I was in Dubuque running errands, and I did go to the Quick Star, and I did think every time I've gone into a Quick Star, I've had a positive experience. Like, can you relate that Quick Star is the superior gas station?
I mean, I haven't tried all gas stations, but if you're just talking about Quick Star versus like Casey's,
Yeah, absolutely. Any day of the week, Quick Star.
So yes,
Besides the breakfast pizza.
breakfast pizza, yeah, their pizza still is superior, but yeah,
There's something about it.
the bigger selection of sandwiches.
Yes. And when they say see you next time, it's like, you're right.
We'll be back.
will see you next
we
time.
stopped on the way home from Des Moines. We always stop at the Meskwaki car stop, but when I woke up, we were at
which
the
is
Quick
hilarious.
Star.
I hardly ever stop
Yeah,
at the
is the-
Meskwaki one, but always at
Well,
Quick Star.
because we stopped because that one's easier to get a camper in.
Sure.
That's why we stop at that one.
Yeah.
But when I woke up, we were at the Quick Star one, which is that in Tama or Toledo?
It's in Toledo.
Yeah.
And they just built a new one, which is now easier to get into.
Right
now-
off the highway.
Right off.
That's the one we went to.
And before, what I heard was it was like the top grossing Quick Star in their whole company in
Well,
Tama.
it will be because there's no.
Whereas the Casey's are across the street, but the people are
You
going
got
more to
more
Quick
options.
Star.
at the Quick
Well,
Star.
anyways, when we were there, I didn't see your dad there. I did look for
Oh,
him.
really?
Yeah, I didn't see him.
Bummer.
But they were like, all the employees were out in the parking lot trying to help this woman start her car.
Yeah, see, they're so
It
nice.
was so nice.
Yeah. And then they probably said, see you next time. And she was like, I will be back.
Except for the one worker was like, I think I'm more, he was not going to be helpful, but he said, I'll go out, but I think I'm going to be more dangerous than anything.
Hey, self-awareness is good.
But he pulled his truck over and he did his best. We left before I could really see if the car got started. But so, yes, very kind people work at Quick Start apparently. Or maybe it's just the Midwest mentality.
Maybe.
Father's hometown, so maybe they're really...
Yeah, I've got both across the street from each other, and I'm 95% going to the Quick Star.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Quick Star, sponsor us. Big fans. But
that's a good one.
that was a good one. All right. Well, that is it for this week. We are praying for you. You have to say you can do your own catchphrase. You got to think of your, sorry, I should have. Mr. Till, also, you got to get going on that jingle. It's summer. We need a jingle.
I'm supposed to be relaxing.
You thought we'd make it the whole episode without bringing up that jingle, but...
I was going to sing Can You Relate, but you did it. But...
That'd
So
have been
can
awesome.
Father, can you relate?
Oh, gosh.
Mode 6.
All right. Well, we are praying for you.
What, am I supposed to say something?
Yes, you're just supposed to say anything.
You could have warned me that I needed to come up with my own slogan.
Okay.
I can't do well under pressure like this.
Well,
we'll see you later. I don't know.
may God bless you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.